Resume that. Okay. So I'll be recording this. If after the meeting, you guys would like a copy of the recording, I'm more than happy to share it. My name is Amy Molea, and I am a full-time realtor with Keller Williams Greater Springfield. And my experience as far as short-term rentals goes, even though I've been an agent since 2010, I started with the short-term rental journey about 2.5 years ago. So during COVID, and it has been a long and drawn out journey. I didn't really have anybody holding my hand or teaching me how to do short-term rentals. And so my hope is that whatever I can share with you guys is going to be beneficial to you when you're starting your journey. And I'm always available for personal questions. So if people have a question about something that's affecting them in a specific situation, feel free to reach out to me directly because I'm happy to be a resource for everyone. I actually invited quite a few agents from other parts of the country as well. I don't know if anybody's going to make it in. If you're listening to the recording, my goal on this is that if you would like to be able to share this with the people in your database and your sphere, feel free to do that. Feel free to rip off and duplicate what I'm doing, because the more people that are educated about this, the better. Hi, Sandy, nice to see you. Thanks for turning your camera on. So let's just get started. I'll tell you a little bit about my journey with short-term rental investing. I spent probably 8 or 9 months fully researching the market, researching short-term rentals, researching management companies before I decided to jump in and do something. Well, when we bought, it was at the height of the market during COVID, where stuff was going insane, bidding wars on everything. Nothing was selling without multiple offers. And so at the time, I had started my search in Branson, Missouri, and just could not find anything that would work for my family, that we could afford, that was the right type of investment for what we were hoping for. So I actually ended up buying in Arkansas. About 2 hours away from us is a little town called Bella Vista, Arkansas. It's been a great investment. Now I'm experiencing some major issues with regulations. So we will talk a little bit about what can happen when you buy in an area that's not already regulated, and we'll get to that. So that's my personal story. After that one, I bought another one in Ozark, Missouri. It is just a 15-20 minute drive from my house. And the reason I picked that one was its location and proximity to the Ozark Mill and Finley Farms development in Ozark. My thought was that if Johnny Morris is dumping a bunch of money into the Ozark Mill area and he's having this thing as a wedding venue, people are going to need a place to stay, especially if they're coming from out of state to weddings. So my entire goal with that particular one was to be able to host people that are coming to stay for the weddings. And overall, that has been pretty much my my set of guests that I'm getting for that one. So a lot of people ask me, what's up with short-term rentals? Are they losing popularity? Are they going by the wayside? Did the market get oversaturated? The answer to all of that is no and yes, depending on what area you are in. It's really, really important to thoroughly research an area before investing to find out, like, what are the needs there, and then how many rentals are available to people. So the demographics of how many people travel to an area and what they're looking for. And then if you look at the existing rentals, if you're going online and you're searching Airbnb or you're searching VRBO, do a search for the dates that you'd like to travel and just see how many come up as possibilities and what sort of rates are they charging. How many of these people in places that you'd like to stay are already booked up well in advance. That'll kind of give you a good idea of the law of supply and demand. If everybody's vacant, you know the market, it's a possibility the market could be oversaturated. And depending on the area, some areas tend to book out like 6 months to a year in advance. And then some areas tend to book out maybe just 90 days in advance. So it really depends on getting to know the traveler and where you're going. One thing that you really, really need to think about is, who is my ideal demographic? So kind of form an avatar in your mind of what sort of a guest you would like to host. And then you're going to design your experience around what that guest wants. So you're going to pick a location that would be ideal to that guest. For instance, if you know you've got a golf retreat, well, you might want to pick a condo or a house that has very few stairs and zero level entry, because you may be attracting an older demographic with the golfers, and that might be something that's important to them, or they might have to have an elevator. In Bella Vista, we've got a lot of mountain bikers. So having a garage and a hose available for people to hose off their equipment, those things are really important. Easy access to the biking trails. Or if you are hosting, let's say down in Branson, are you going to be attracting people who are coming to stay at Silver Dollar City? Or are you looking for people that are coming to stay at the lake? And are they going to need a boat ramp nearby or parking for their boat? So it's really, really important to identify in your head who that ideal demographic is, and then you'll know who you're marketing to. And so they're not losing popularity, but also you need to be better than a hotel. So if you are going to market your property to attract a certain demographic, do you have all of the amenities that they need? And are these things that they can get like at a hotel? So one of the things to think about when you're looking at making an investment in a short-term rental is, what is my end game for this? So some people want to do it as an investment only. So it's a cash flow goal. They want to make X amount per year. They want X return on investment, and they know their numbers, and they're buying just strictly for that. And if that's the case, it's really easy for an agent to get you what you want if you're clear on your numbers. And an agent who's well-versed in short-term rental investing, if you tell them, well, I have X to put down and I want to make, a 10% return on my investment, plus I want to be in an area that's going to appreciate, then they can look for something that is specific to that. But a lot of people in our area, especially Branson, say, I want a lake house, or I want a place down by Table Rock Lake that I can take my family to, and it's a vacation home, and then it can double as a Airbnb or VRBO when my family is not using it personally. So something really important to think about, and a lot of people don't really think this through, is if I'm trying to use that investment for myself personally, more than likely the days that I want to stay are also going to be the premium days that I could rent it out to someone else. So if I buy a lake house for myself and my family, we're going to want to go on 4th of July weekend down to the lake because that's the place everybody wants to be, right? But that also happens to be some of the most premium rates that you could charge to someone if you're having guests stay. And so if you intend to use it for yourself personally, then we're looking at more of a lifestyle investment, not just a numbers investment. And the lifestyle investment might be, hey, Amy, if I can stay in it 4 weeks out of the year and my guests can just make my payments, cover my mortgage for me. So basically I'm breaking even. I don't have anything out of pocket at the end of the year, but I have this nice investment for my family. Well, that might be an ideal situation for you. So then your numbers and what you're willing to pay for a property are going to be different than somebody who is just looking at it in terms of investment numbers. The other thing that people like to think about is like, what is the potential for future growth in this area? One really nice thing about the Midwest is that our prices are not too expensive to invest. We get people coming from like California, like they can't touch an investment for the price that we have available for people here and the kind of numbers that we offer. And so this area is going to continue to be attractive to people because we are so much less expensive than the whole rest of the country. Gary Keller at our family reunion said that the national median home price is $375,000. Well, in our area, it's $275,000. So there's still a big disparity and room for growth on what we're charging versus what the national average is. So it's attractive to investors because they can still come here and get a lot more for their money, right? So when you're weighing what you want to be really, really clear with your agent about your intent, your personal use, how much you're going to use this property. And then they can help run the numbers for you based on that. Something else to think about is, what are my management options? Because there's a lot of different choices out there, and everything's going to cost you something different. So when you buy a short-term rental, you could choose to self-manage it. If you self-manage, but you don't like cleaning and you don't like handyman, all you've got to do is have a really, really good cleaning crew and handyman crew available. You can self-manage a short-term rental from anywhere in the country. So if you said, Amy, I want to learn more about buying a condo in Florida. Well, I can hook you up with an agent in Florida that knows what they're doing. And you could literally self-manage all the guests from your cell phone, because it's just a matter of replying to inquiries, talking to people, explaining things, answering things. And heck, you can even set up with AI now, you can set up auto responses to the most frequently asked questions. You're always available for your guests with your phone. So as long as you've got a good cleaning crew and or a handyman on call for emergencies, you should be able to self-manage. And the cool thing is that when you are booking via Airbnb and VRBO, you can put what your cleaning fee is. And that is a pass-through to the clients. So if your cleaner tells you it's going to cost you $225 to clean this 4 or 5 bedroom house every turn, you can pass that through to your guest. Now, I will say this, guests do not love paying cleaning fees. So like my short-term rental in Arkansas is a 5 bedroom, 2.5 bath house. And our cleaning fee that the cleaning people charge me is $275, but I only charge my guests $150. So I have to factor in the rest of that into my budget for what my annual expenses are going to be for the property. And I don't have a management company. I just pay my cleaner, and my cleaner's husband he's got kind of like handyman business that he can do. And then I have a whole list of vendors that I will call if something goes wrong at the property. Plumbers and electricians are probably the most important if something were to come up. In terms of management though, let's say you don't want to have anything to do with it and you just want to like set it up and forget about it and get a check in the mail, that's possible too. So these management companies really vary depending on what you want. They can start as cheap as like 10% for Evolve and Vacasa. They are like almost like a booking.com, but with a little more control. They handle your bookings, they handle the guest inquiries, they coordinate the cleaners, they coordinate repairs. So they will handle all of that for you for 10%. The only thing that's kind of a bummer about Evolve and Vacasa, and the reason I chose not to use them, is they insisted on setting pricing. So they wanted to say, we're going to price your home at, I think it was like $289 a night. And I said, I don't agree with that. I'm renting it for $379 a night and I'm booked all the time. So don't let them underprice you. And then the other thing would be they insist on instant book. And I don't like instant book either. But a lot of my investor friends love instant book because they can just hit it and forget it. And like their place just keeps getting booked. The problem with instant book is there's not really a big screening process. And there's no questions that are asked. So if it's a property that you intend on using for yourself and your family, and you actually care about if stuff is going to get destroyed, I highly recommend not allowing Instabook and just asking a few questions when people send over their request to make a reservation. You know, they'll send over a request through Airbnb or VRBO, and you've got 24-hour window to respond, ask them other questions, and decide whether you're going to accept the reservation or decline the reservation. If you decline the reservation, you have to offer the booking platform a reason why you decline that guest. And it could just be simple as, you know, I don't feel that my property is going to really suit the guest's needs. And within a few questions, you'll find out really quick. If they don't have any previous rental history, a lot of them don't have any any reviews to read. You can ask them, have you ever rented on these platforms before? And what's your purpose for coming to visit? And another question I've asked is, has every member of your group, every adult in your group read my house rules? And is everybody agreeing to them? Because you have all your house rules on your listing. And I wait for them to get back to me and say, yep, we all read them. Yep, we all agree to it. Well, great. Because then I know they're going to get a fine if they smoke in my house or if they do something that is against my house rules. So you want a really clear set of what's allowed and what's not allowed on your property in your house rules. And then it's just a simple matter of getting the guest to acknowledge through the platform. Then you've got it in writing that you can screenshot that they did read your house rules and they did agree to them. So that's super important. You can also go with a full service management company, and those can range from 20% all the way up to 40%. I know there's some places down in the Branson area that are like hotel style, and they actually have like in-house housekeeping staff, and they come and change everything out. They handle all the linens. I mean, literally, they do everything that you could possibly think of, and they do all the bookings, but they charge like 40%, which is kind of crazy. There is another company down in Branson that I really like that I refer clients to all of the time. They're called Rent Branson, and they actually will advertise your site. They'll handle your bookings for you. And then I believe their fee is 15 or 20%. But they do everything for that. They do make you buy your towels and your sheets through them because they've literally got a big old truck and they come and swap out. I mean, they might clean a whole bunch of units in the same building on the same day. So they're constantly changing out linens. They'll just take your old linens and bring in a new set so they can turn the property quicker. And then they're not doing the laundry on site and they're not messing with your washer and dryer that you have. So it's less wear and tear on your unit as well. And they've got a full-time handyman that's available like 24 hours a day. And they've got a hot tub cleaner, which a lot of these vacation rental properties, they want to have hot tubs. And if your competition has a hot tub, then you need to have the hot tub because you want to be better than your competition. So if I was doing Branson and hired a management company, personally, I think I like Rent Branson. I would use them. Okay, so let's talk about tax benefits for a minute. The reason that a short-term rental is attractive to investors is that there's some huge tax benefits that come along with owning a vacation rental. There is something called a cost segregation study. I'm not a tax professional, so I can't give this tax advice. However, you would want to deal with a CPA who knew about short-term rental investing and is focused on helping clients who do short-term rental investing, that is familiar with how to do a cost segregation study. What that does is it takes the property and like all of the furnishings, and instead of depreciating them out like a normal transaction over like 27.5 years depreciation, they can do something called an accelerated depreciation schedule. And you can literally get a massive write-off your first year in business. There are some caveats to this. So some of the important things to think about on a cost segregation study is they do not depreciate out the land the same as they do the property, the house itself. And so cost segregation wise, homes with very little land or condominiums are preferable. You're going to get a bigger deduction up front with a condo than you would with something with some land. If the land value is too big, you still have to spread out that. You don't get to bonus depreciate that and accelerate your depreciation. The other thing is, in order to benefit from it, you have to qualify as what they call a real estate professional. So our real estate professional status means that you are going to spend 500 hours in that year working on your property. So it works really well when you buy a property that's in need of a little bit of work and you put the blood, sweat, and tears into it, and you fix it up, and you spend the time staging it, you spend the time designing it, and you're the one who's doing the self-managing, because you can log all of those hours, and you do need to keep a log of your hours because your CPA will want to have that. And you'll be able to take all of that, give to your CPA, prove that you materially participated in this, and then you can qualify as this real estate professional status on the property. I've really, really simplified it. Like this could go on for an hour, and you're going to want to learn from a CPA who does it. If you need a good CPA, I've got an excellent one. He works all across the country, and his entire focus is on helping either real estate professionals or people who are investing in property and short-term rentals. And so he knows all of the tax loopholes to help people with. What do we need to know about regulations? So this is like the most important part of this seminar. If I can get anything through your head, it is that the most important thing to consider is, what are the regulations? And we're talking on multiple levels. So the number one thing is, you got to look at the neighborhood. Is there an HOA, a POA, or a COA? So is there any sort of homeowners association in place for this property? If there is, that's the very first place you go, and you want to read their bylaws. If there is an HOA in place and their bylaws don't mention anything about short-term rentals, you might think, okay, well, I'm fine, but you're really not, because at any point that HOA could hold a meeting and veto your rights, and you would no longer be able to have a short-term rental in their neighborhood if they vote you out. So that one's really, really the sticky one, because you might have some protections at a state level or a county level or a city level, but those don't apply to private owner association. So if there is any sort of an HOA, a COA, or a POA, you want to make sure they're very short-term rental friendly. And the way that you can tell is if they have written out all of their bylaws and they have all kinds of things about nightly rentals in there, and the entire neighborhood is focused on nightly rentals, well, guess what? You're probably not going to ever have a problem with them, because they designed that neighborhood to be specific to nightly rentals. And I will show you a couple of those when we're looking through what's available in the Branson market. But this applies to anything in any city. So look at the Private Owners Association, HOA, COA. Next, you need to look at the city. So go to, you can call the city offices, you can call planning and zoning, and have a conversation with them and ask them, are there any short-term rental restrictions in place currently in this city? They'll tell you exactly what they are. And then the next question needs to be, if there are none, are you all having conversations about starting restrictions? What have you heard? And they'll spill the beans, because I promise you, if there aren't restrictions in place at a city level currently, more than likely at some point, someone's going to try to make them. Because what's happening is, in residential neighborhoods, the neighbors are kind of freaking out about these short-term rentals, and they make assumptions that are not always the case. So when a short-term rental pops up next to them, they may be freaking out in their head about stranger danger, or, oh no, there's going to be wild parties. Oh no, there's going to be this and that, because they've read sensational news accounts somewhere. And so they go to their city council and say, we need to shut this down. We don't want these in our neighborhood. The people that oppose them, we call them NIMBYs. It means not in my backyard. They love Airbnbs and they love to stay in them, but they don't want them next door to them. And so one of the ways to really get around that, if you buy a home in a residential neighborhood and you intend to use it as a short-term rental, don't hide it from the neighbors. Make friends with all the neighbors around if you can, and try to get them as your ally. And tell them, hey, I want to run a clean ship. I'm not going to rent to partiers. I'm not going to rent to wild people. I want to know if crazy things are happening at my house, because I care about you guys. I care about the neighborhood, and I want to help raise the property values in this neighborhood by running this very well. And so if you can make friends with your neighbors, if it's in a residential neighborhood, that's like the number one thing that you can do. If there are no restrictions at the city level, next you want to call the county. And you want to do the same thing. Talk to planning and zoning. Ask them the same questions. Are there restrictions? Are there going to be restrictions? Are there talks about meeting and forming any kind of restrictions? And then check out your state and see at the state level what sort of laws are in place in terms of property rights, home ownership rights, protection of property rights. Those will kind of give you a clue. Some states tend to be more friendly than others. So what is happening to us right now who have bought in Arkansas, in Bella Vista, Arkansas, when we all bought, we got our place up and running, we asked all the right questions, and they said at the time, like, no, there's no restrictions in place, and Bella Vista is a vacation destination. It was founded as a vacation rental community. Like, there's very little chance that there's going to be regulations in place. But guess what happened? City council decided they're going to start restricting us. And some of their regulations are stupid. Like, we're all very frustrated, but they're trying to limit our occupancy based on the septic systems for the houses, and say that now my lake house that was sleeping 13 can only have a guest of 6. Well, that dramatically impacts my bottom line if I can't have the capacity that I'm renting it out to currently. So we're kind of in a legal battle with the city of Bella Vista at this point. But we're really, really hopeful because the state of Arkansas now has a bill on the table, and the state is talking about limiting the city's ability to unfairly restrict short-term rentals only. And that if a city is going to pass an ordinance, it has to apply across the board to everyone, which would really level the playing field for all of us. So if there's a parking ordinance, it's got to be enforced for everyone, including residents. And if there's a noise ordinance, it gets enforced for everyone. And if there's a occupancy limit on the house, like fire safety code, that gets enforced across the board for everyone, because that's the right thing to do. So we're really hopeful. We're going to find out actually next Monday, the 27th, whether or not that state protection is going to pass for us. If it does pass, Arkansas is going to become a very friendly state for short-term rental investors. If you want to know more about investing in Arkansas, let me know. I've got excellent referral partners down there that know what they're doing when it comes to short-term rentals, so I could connect you. And it's beautiful. Arkansas and Branson are just kind of like this, right on top of each other. So the Ozarks is a lovely place to invest. Okay, let's talk really quick about financing. What types of financing are available for these? So if you're buying a property as your personal vacation home, there are some lenders who will let you do that with only 10% down. So that is another reason why short-term rental investing has become so attractive to so many buyers, because it's a lower down payment than a typical investment property. When you're buying investment property through like a commercial lender, they want 20 to 25% down usually. But if you're buying it as your second home, a vacation home, you have to certify that you're going to use it personally at least 14 days out of the year. And then your income, of course, would have to qualify to substantiate both payment of your current residence and the secondary residence. But for some people, it's a great option of being able to buy with only 10% down and not too bad of an interest rate. If you're looking at buying one of these, not as a second home, but strictly investment property, then the least percent down that I've seen is 15, but most banks want 20% down. And then if you're buying one that is not already fully furnished, you're going to want to budget for your furnishings. And it can get expensive. I would say, and I had another investor explain that she spent between 32 to 37 cents, $32 to $37 per square foot of the residence. So if it was 1,000 square feet, she's spending between 32 and 37 grand to get it up and running if it's unfurnished. And that includes doing some things like maybe repainting the walls and changing some light fixtures and all of the furnishings. And she does hers very nice and very high end. I would say probably middle to maybe 50 to 75th percentile in terms of the furnishings. So you don't want to cheap out on your furnishings because A, if you buy the cheap furniture, the guests will break it. And then B, it's not going to be comfortable. So you want to create a cozy place and a retreat that they can't get at home. And then C, you want to be better than your competition. So that is something to think about when you're looking at furnishings package. And then the last type of financing available is something called a DSCR loan. And this is strictly based on the income of a property that is already producing. So a DSCR loan would work for a property that is already an existing Airbnb, an existing nightly rental. It has cash flow statements available. You're able to see how much money it produces, and then the lender would make the loan to you based on the money that the income produces. Now, the kind of people who really are looking at a DSCR loan, or maybe like if you're self-employed, you don't maybe show a ton of income, like you might not be able to qualify it on your own income personally to be able to afford to own it, but you can prove to the bank that this is a good solid investment that already pays for itself. You still are going to have a down payment. You're still going to have to make payments to the bank. It's just that they're evaluating this investment vehicle as an investment property itself. So that's a DSCR loan. And then how do I set my vacation rental apart? Well, you're just going to have to shop the competition. So you have to look and see what other amenities are being offered for the people that are charging the highest prices in an area. What does their place look like? What does it feel like? What's my ideal guest coming to the place for? If it's relaxing and retreating, do I have, cozy spaces that are very warm and inviting? And it does not hurt if you're not a big decorator to hire an interior designer who knows what they're doing, because you will get your return on investment for whatever it is that you're putting into this place. Some of these that are being sold fully furnished, but they're not renting really well, it could be because they don't really have the right kind of furnishings in it for what guests really want, or maybe they just don't have really good professional pictures. So you got to think, setting yourself apart from the competition, you want to be better than everybody else for everything that you're doing. And even if your home isn't the most pricey or the most expensive, because mine aren't, but do I offer the greatest sense of comfort to my guests? Do I have the little notes everywhere that help them feel like they are comfortable and welcome in my home? Do I have games for their kids to play and extra blankets for them to use while they're on the couch, and making sure that my beds and my pillows are really comfy? And that stuff is very, very clean. The cleanliness is super important. To have a really, really good cleaner. A good cleaner is worth everything. Because if you start getting bad cleaning reviews, or you start having people that leave the place dirty and it's getting dingy over time, it's not going to be desirable, and you're going to lose in the reviews, and you're going to lose in future bookings. So those are all really good places to put your money. That is the first 30 minutes or so in a nutshell of the most frequently asked questions with regards to short-term rental investing. And what I'd like to do now is I've got a screen share that I can share with you guys, if you'll bear with me here, because I'd like to show you some of the things that are happening in the Branson market. So let's just talk about Branson in general. If you're not familiar with our market, this is a nighttime shot of Branson, Missouri. And we have a boulevard there, 76 Boulevard, that is mostly like shops and shows. And if you just think of like a country western Las Vegas on a very small scale, because obviously we're nowhere near as big as Vegas or as raunchy. It's all very family friendly entertainment. There's shows and performers, a lot of impersonators, Elvis impersonators, Wild West style. Dolly Parton has Dixie Stampede down there. And then, of course, we have Silver Dollar City, which is an amusement park that it's probably January and February are only months that are really not rented, in the beginning of March. But it's open all the way through December, has a really beautiful light show. And so it draws a lot of people. It's a tourist attraction. So when you're looking in Branson, you're looking at, okay, what proximity is this amenity to some of the places that people are going to come? When people come to Branson, they might be coming for the shows, they might be coming for the shopping, they might be coming for the golfing. So you want to pick, depending on your ideal avatar, you're going to want to pick who is coming to stay and what am I giving them with regards to where they're coming to visit. So Branson is considered the live entertainment capital of the world, believe it or not. And we have a little airport too, which is super easy to get in and out of in Branson. We've also got one in Springfield. So it's an easy travel destination. We've also got easy access from all of the major cities. So we get a lot of traffic from St. Louis, Oklahoma, Texas, Chicago, Kansas City. There's a lot of people that can drive to this destination, and they like it for the shows and the nightlife and the lakes. We've also got a bunch of caves, which is really nice. Lots to explore. This is Dolly Parton's Dixie Stampede, which is super popular, like a dinner and a show. And this is my favorite place. So if you have not been to or seen Top of the Rock, Johnny Morris is a Springfield legend. And he, like anything he touches turns to gold. I'm not kidding. The man is just he's a genius, and everything he does is beautiful. He is the person who started all of the Bass Pro Shops. And he now has this huge aquarium in Springfield called Wonders of Wildlife. Well, he also opened down here by the Branson area, Top of the Rock, which is a premier golf destination. And he has all kinds of pageants down there. And then there's some excellent dining. There's a really cool historical museum down there. And he's even got like golf cart. You can pay for a golf cart tour, and everything that he has down there is just super picturesque and beautiful. It's a great touristy area. And then he also has Dogwood Ranch, or Dogwood Canyon, which is just south of Branson. I would say it's probably another 30 minutes away from Branson, but it's a nature preserve and beautiful. You can rent bikes and segways. Treehouse Masters did a show down there, so they have a really fancy treehouse. And then Silver Dollar City, of course, this is our destination where all the kids want to come. We got the roller coasters, and it's a ton of fun. Even for people that don't ride roller coasters, I love Silver Dollar City because the food, for one thing, but then they've also got all of these old time craftsman shows. So you could spend a whole day just walking around the place and enjoying watching somebody learn how to do hand blown glass or forge knife making or iron working. So a lot of like the older pioneer craft days, they have actual demonstrations, live demos. You can buy the things that they make, and then they have the funnel cake. It's just my favorite. Okay, so our peak travel season. This is something to think about. If you're going to buy in Branson, you need to really think about when you're going to have absolutely dead days and nobody's coming versus when your peak months are. So your peak is obviously the summer. June, July, August are super, super hot. Everybody wants to vacation there, and we've got the lake. So those will be your peak months where you can charge absolutely the most and also be pickier about the length of stay. So you can set your stay and say, I would like my guests to only stay. I won't take anything less than a 3-night minimum, which is what I do on my places, because I don't want the partiers that happen in one night. And if you tell them a 3-night minimum, what you'll get is either the long weekend bookings or you'll get an entire week, which is great. And then the fall is really pretty. We get a lot of tourists coming here for fall in the Ozarks. And then November and December, they come for the holiday time. There's a lot of things in Branson that are decorated and very holiday-ish and very festive, and people will come just for the light shows and things like that. So spring through fall, very popular. In the wintertime, your holiday season is going to be pretty booked out. And then January and February, pretty empty. And then in the middle to end of March, things start really ramping back up again in terms of traffic. The reason it's important to know that is depending on when you close on a property, you're going to have to budget, because if you close on the property in October, you're coming up on really sparse months in terms of rentals. And you're going to have enough reserves to float you until the market picks back up and gets busy again. The one advantage to that is if you buy something that's like a fixer-upper and you're going to spend some time painting and remodeling the condo and furnishing it and redoing things, you can do that over the whole winter and have it ready to go come spring and early summer. So that would be my personal preference. What I'd like to show you now is this is a graphic. Let me see if I can move our bar over to this side. Okay, this is a website that I pay for the data, and I really like this because it gives us a good idea of what we've got in terms of competition. So just in this Branson area, it is showing us 2,137 active listings. And you can kind of ignore the average revenue because that's just throwing across the board every set like bedroom count. And so you're looking at 1-bedroom condos and 10-bedroom lake houses. And so you don't really want to look at the average there. Their occupancy is your average yearly occupancy. This gross ROI number is determined by taking that average revenue, and then you divide that by the average value for the bedrooms in that market. Valuation, that's just the average of what properties are selling for in that grouping. Revenue, again, another average. They will only give us numbers on properties that are rented for at least 200 days a year. So it'll throw out the outliers of like the people who own a home and then they're just maybe renting it out a couple weeks. This is really like our competition is other full-time short-term rental investors, right? And they'll look at this daily booking rate across all of the sites. So this pulls from Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com. If somebody has their own private booking site or they're renting through like a direct to consumer site like rentbranson.com, that would not be reflected in these numbers. So some of these totals that we're going to examine here, their rental amounts are actually higher than what we're seeing if they're booking another way. But this has got all the main channels. Okay, so if we scroll down here, you can kind of see just numbers wise, it gives you figures for on the average for a 1-bedroom place, a 2-bedroom place, a 3-bedroom, all the way up to a 12-bedroom. And when we're looking at these numbers, obviously you'd want to have a more specific, like one-on-one conversation with me about a certain property. I'm more than happy to do that. And if you said, I really want to dive deeper into only the 2 bedrooms or only the 3 bedrooms, again, I'd be more than happy to do that. Their return on investment for a 1-bedroom, really good. And you might be surprised to see how cheap you can get a 1-bedroom condo in the Branson area. The other thing to look at is average occupancy. So over here in this column, you can see that most of them are running between 30 and 45% occupancy. That's pretty average for the Branson area, allowing for empty days on all of the winter, empty midweek things, and then just having some occupancy over the holiday time in like November and December. However, as we look at some of the specific numbers, you'll see that some of these places are renting much more than that. So I'm going to assume if you're going to use a good agent and you're going to have a good plan for your property, you're going to be rented more than 40% of the time on your property. So you can also break it down by bedroom count. So if I just said, I only want to see right now the 2-bedroom options, well, now it's only going to show us the 2-bedroom condos and where they're located. If you're not super familiar with this area, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. Right here is that theater district, that 76 that we talked about, where all of the shows are. That'll be this section here. And then this Indian Point is the very popular lake destination. And right up in here is where Silver Dollar City is located. So as you can see, a lot of these are around this area. Now, if you change from, you get rid of the 2 bedrooms and you want to see, the 7 through 10 bedrooms, now what you're going to get is a whole bunch of probably lakefront properties like these down in here. We're going to zoom in even closer. And here's the cool thing is you can literally zoom in and look at each property and look at their listing on Airbnb. So as we zoom in on this one, if it will load, this is one of the chateaus with Table Rock lake views and an elevator, a private hot tub that allows for 10 plus guests. It's a 7-bedroom. They actually have 15 beds. Right now they're renting for $501 a night. Let's see, this might be the Cove Chateau. So I have some ladies that bought a place down at Chateau Mountain, and they absolutely love it. Okay, this one is putting greens, lake views, indoor pool, pickleball. So they added a little putting green on the outside of their condo. That makes it a little bit different. These developments that you're looking at here are considered condotels. So from a lender standpoint, they're going to lend on them as if they're a condominium, even though they're a standalone house in a development. This entire development was set up for nightly rentals only. Okay, so when we're talking to a lender about financing some of these, the conversation is it's a condotel neighborhood, and your realtor would help you with that as well. These will all, like down at Chateau Mountain and Chateau Cove, I'm going to show you one that's for sale right now. They generally will rent for anywhere from $500 to like $1,000 a night in the summertime, which is really nice. Let's close that one. This one's a 9-bed, 10-bath. A lot of these are set up so that they have their own individual ensuite. So each bedroom has its own bathroom, plus there's an additional bathroom for the guests. And this is in that same development I was telling you about. They actually have amenities like a condo association would. They've got an indoor pool and an outdoor pool. And then each unit comes with a hot tub, and there's always a basement area for entertaining as well. And they generally, it's like large family reunions and big groups of people. A lot of them have bunk rooms. Speaking of bunks, cleaners hate bunks, just saying. Some cleaners won't even do bunks because they're such a pain in the rear to change the bedding, but it's also a way to get more people. And especially if you have families traveling with lots of kids, the bunks are like high demand item. And then let me show you really quick here what some of the properties that we currently have on the market in our area that are available to purchase right now. So let's sort them. We're going to go from least expensive to most expensive. So you can get a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo as low as $139,000. This particular one is located, you see where the little star is? I can zoom in just a little on this. So it's located north of Silver Dollar City. It's a nice, quiet condo, 1 bed, 1 bath. It's only 600 square feet. I feel like when I'm looking at this, that there's definitely room for improving it and charging more on the nightly rental because it's outdated. So when you look at the pictures, for me, when I'm looking for an investment property, I love to find stuff that is in really bad shape or that's outdated, and then turn it into something that everybody's going to want to stay in. So yeah, it's got decent carpet. You really don't want carpet in these nightly rentals. You're better off getting vinyl plank, because it's easily swap outable if they mess up one of the planks. And then the kitchen could be modernized. You know, all of this could be painted. You could take off this row of uppers and you could redo the cabinet faces and make it upgrade the appliances. I mean, it could be made a lot cuter than it is currently. But in terms of cost, it's really not that costly, and all the appliances would come with it. So fairly close to Silver Dollar City. And then this one, again, similar story, but this one has nice woodsy views and it's under 200,000. It's kind of nice. You've got a view off the back deck. And the inside of this one looked pretty cute. They fixed it up pretty nice already. They had opened up that spot in the kitchen. You open up that line of sight, so it feels bigger that way. Okay, Fall Creek. This one is over off of Lake Taneycomo. If you're not familiar with the Branson area, we've got Table Rock Lake is the big destination. And then Taneycomo kind of goes off to the side. It's freezing cold. You don't want to swim in Taneycomo. That's great for fishing. And it's great to sit and look at. It's a beautiful, peaceful water view, and you don't get the wild partiers outside. So just depending on your demographic, if you're getting people to come and relax and stay at your condo who just want water to look at, Taneycomo is just fine. If you want somebody that's close by Table Rock Lake, this isn't necessarily right up on it. Even though you see that it does have a nice water view. So those vary in price. And then the one thing I didn't mention is in Branson, basically your options are limited. You're only going to be able to buy something that is already a nightly rental approved if they're willing to transfer the permits, or you're going to have to buy something in a nightly rental neighborhood. And the reason for that is Stone County and Taney County both have eliminated the ability to even apply for a permit for a nightly rental. They do not allow it in residential neighborhoods anymore. They really clamped down at the urging of the hotel industry. And so now the only way that you can buy a nightly rental is either a condominium complex or one of these approved nightly rental neighborhoods and still be safe and not get shut down. So that's what I'm showing you here is things that are already in only approved nightly rental areas. Can't just take a house and convert it. These two here, both 359.9-ish, they are in Stonebridge. Stonebridge is a super popular place because it's close to Silver Dollar City. And when people are coming to visit, it's cute, it's woodsy, it's what people would expect when they come to visit Branson. So a 2-bed, 2-bath in Stonebridge is going for about $359. It's about 1,200 square feet. But the insides of these, they're individual lodges. Some have stairs, some are just a short walk in. Some have really steep driveways up as well. So they're not as accessible in the wintertime when the roads are bad. That one doesn't have interior pictures, but this one does. And it's kind of, you got to think when people come to visit Branson, it's the country lodge feel. So these are very much set up that way with the stone and the wood and the wood trim. And they're really comfy, cozy. And you'd want to probably buy furnishings that would match that look for this. Now, this particular one is being sold with the furnishings already in place because it's an existing nightly rental and it's vacation rental ready. And Stonebridge will allow you to use your own management. Some of these Branson companies only will allow you to hire their management companies. So that's a really important question to ask if you're looking at buying in Branson is, can I self-manage or can I hire my own management out? And in this case, you can choose your own manager or you could choose to self-manage. And so those are really cute. And then this is a new development that's being built over off of Ants Creek. which is kind of like past Kimberling City, a little more Branson West. I'll show you where they're at on a map. And I'm actually really excited about this one. They are pricey in terms of like price per square foot and what you're getting, but this is Ants Creek area. So over here off of a little arm in a cove, they're going to have a really nice water view. The construction on them is probably not going to be done until like 2023 and 2024, and they're building it out in phases. But I do think the value on these is really going to go up. So they have these little individual lodges for $360 that are 3 beds, 2 baths. And I'll see if I can find a little floor plan to show you. So kind of open kitchen, dining, living room, all open to each other, and then the beds and baths there. And then I'm going to show you here, when you're looking at these pictures on the side, the ones that look stacked next to each other, those are townhome style. And those are going to be this little 1 through 4, and then the 6 through 13. And these ones down here, these are already sold. This little blue is the pool that they're going to have. And then these houses here that are the standalones are what you see here. 15 through 17 are these for the 360. Those would be these ones right in here. This one right here in the end, I think is 510. It's a little bit bigger. I believe this one's a 4-bedroom. Yeah, 1522 square feet. It's 4 beds and 3 baths. And I like that one because it's on the end. And based on how they're going to lay out the parking, you could probably have a boat trailer on that one. And then it gets pricier as you go down in the development because some of these are going to be waterfront and have a basement. Their most expensive one, I think, is $895. It'll be a 5-bed, 5-bath, 2,800 square feet, and you'll get that water view. And I'm going to show you really quickly here. This is the development for Driftwood Shores. And it will have a pool, pavilion, yard games, fire pit, landscaping. Your water and trash will be included with the COA dues. It's going to be kind of a modern style on the exterior. They're using things like matte black hardware. The bedrooms will have carpet, but everything else will be solid surface flooring, probably LVP. They will have granite counters. And because they're new built, they're probably going to be pretty energy efficient as well. So this is the subdivision map that I was showing you earlier. And then here is how they're going to build it out. So this green one here is phase 1. All of these will be the first things that get built. After that, they're going to go down and build all the lakefront ones. That'd be phase 2. They'll probably be doing that in the spring of 24. And then phase 3 will be finishing it out. There's advantages and disadvantages to buying new construction. Specifically, in my opinion, you're going to have to, if you buy in zone 1, you're going to have to reduce your rental rates the first year or so while all this other construction is happening. Because if people are coming for a lake retreat, they're not going to want to listen to construction noise and see construction going on. But at the same time, by the time the place is fully built out, they're all going to be worth more money. And at that point, people won't be able to buy them for what you were able to buy them for now, if that makes sense. So this is his breakdown of all of the different pricing, depending on what tier level they're at in proximity to the water. And then he's got a whole bunch of slides on what the different floor plans look like. So if you have questions about this development in particular, I'm not the listing agent on it, but I have been visiting with the owner of the subdivision, and he's excited to get going on it. He's already got quite a few of these sold. And to me, if I were making an investment in today's market right now, this is one I would be considering because it's going to be new build and it's going to be a really nice development, knowing who's building it out. And then it is almost 7. I'll show you the last couple things here. There are some obviously if you're wanting like the 10 bed, 10 bath, or anything over 7 beds, 7 baths, you're going to be spending over $1 million in Branson. But the returns on investment for those types of properties, they rent for ridiculous amounts nightly. So this one in Chateau Mountain is a 9 bed, 9 bath, and it's a prime location. It's easy to get to all of the strip, and you've got a gorgeous lake view. And then every single bedroom has its own bathroom. So everything feels like a private ensuite. And so it's really attractive to, you know, if you've got a bunch of couples all wanting to rent the place together, or even, you know, girls' weekend or extended family. They've got a lot of room to host a lot of people. So I know that was a lot of information in a very short period of time. I'm going to try and stop my screen share here. And if you guys have any questions specifically right now that you want to ask, now would be the good time to ask them. And if you don't, and you just want to reach out to me, let's say you're considering making an investment personally, but you have specific questions on, Amy, will you break down like 2 bedrooms for me? Will you break down condos for me? I'm happy to sit and visit with anybody that would like to do that. And if you are in another state and you are looking at these thinking, man, I have clients that would like to invest out of state if they could get these prices, and you want to talk to me about what the 2 of us assisting your client together would look like, I'd love to do that as well. So I hope that answered your questions for you. I'm happy that you were able to show up. How does the Airbnb Plus and luxury work? So maybe rephrase the question, Emily. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Is there like a specific categories on Airbnb that say this is a luxury property? Like how do you get into that? Is that your question? Okay. So as an owner, I can tell Airbnb what my parameters are. So I can tell them I want my house to show up in the lakefront category. I want my home to show up in the tiny homes category. And then they will look at it and look at the listing to make sure that it's approved for what I said it is. And so the luxury ones, they're going to take a look at the amenities that you offer, your location, what your nightly rental amount is, and they're going to compare that to the other listings in the area to decide whether or not yours is truly a luxury listing or not, and whether they will put it there. Did that answer the question? The biggest thing I can say is if you're interested in getting into this, find out what you can do to set yourself apart from the competition. What can you do to make yours unique? And then in addition to Airbnb and VRBO, what can you do on a personal side to maximize your listing? Creating a Facebook account for it, and then using Facebook ads and running those ads in places where you know all your travelers come from. For instance, Bella Vista, we get a lot of travelers coming down from Kansas City. Well, if I was going to try to get people to book with me off of Airbnb and VRBO, but just do a direct book, I'm going to be advertising in greater Kansas City area because I know that's where a lot of my traffic is coming from. So it's just understanding the data of where your travelers are coming from and then creating ways to reach that audience to get them to do direct book with you. Any other questions I can answer? Alrighty, well, thank you guys for attending. Thank you for showing up. If you have